Hi, Shai. I'm sorry if the camera it wasn't sideways. We should be working. Let me know, please. Thumbs up that the camera, you can see me straight up. Getting any thumbs up there? Is it good?
No one's answer. No one is.
Hi, friends. Let us know you're there, please.
This does. They're back on. Okay.
I'm back. Okay, I'm sorry for the difficulty.
You are sideways from two people again.
Okay, so we're just going to take the camera and turn it the other way. Okay, just take it out of the holder. Okay, this is also a new system, and there we go. Okay? All right, here we are. I'm going to start one more time. Hi. Everyone. Okay, this technology is really quite something. So good morning and welcome to Yin Yoga meditation and meeting the moment, because that's what we're doing. And I'm just being called every moment to meet things as they are. And sometimes life is challenging. Sometimes the camera goes sideways. Sometimes I can't sleep. Sometimes the world of what's happening is really affecting me, and I never know when that's going to happen. And so what I'm well aware of is that all of these practices and teachings really build an interest that's there. It keeps bringing me back home, and I'm so grateful for it. And so today we're going to focus on those inward turnings and being in the moment. Because I notice, I don't know about you, I start to have these thoughts of, what about this? Or or if I have a little scratchy throat, the uh-oh response is what I'm calling it. Uh-oh. How many times do you go, uh-oh? And then I have to just stop. And I've chosen these days to notice it, to give a smile, like, oh, there's the uh-oh response. And can you take a breath? And, this is what's happening. What's going to happen next? What do you want to do? And the only place I can really go, or the other thing is, my mind starts thinking about the future. What if this, and what if that, and what if this? The world is so uncertain. And I can't know the future. None of us can know the future. We're all just doing the best we can in this moment every day. And so coming back to the moment, coming back to this precious body, coming back home to our body and our mind and our heart. So, welcome. I'm glad to be with you. Thich Nhat Hanh says this. He said, spirituality is not a religion. It's a path for us to generate happiness, understanding, and love, so we can live in each moment of our life. Having a spiritual dimension in our lives does not mean escaping or dwelling in a place of bliss outside this world, but discovering ways to handle life's difficulties and generate peace, joy, and happiness right where we are on this beautiful planet. And so I think that speaks perfectly to how are we managing this life. What is a spiritual life? It's not just going to the blissed out places, but those are lovely. We like them, right? But it's not about escaping, but it's about turning and recognizing not just the difficulties, but even though there are difficulties, this too, this resource is also here. And so it's not one or the other. I can be in the witness. I can recognize, the more I turn to that place, there is peace right here at our center. And I can see the world, the more I can both be an observer and a participant. So I'm happy to have you joining me today. Again, have your props near you as we move into the yin practice, okay? And so right now, wherever you are, sitting on your chair or sitting on a cushion or blanket, if your legs are crossed, take a look at them, because this is our habit. This is the way our legs will cross probably 99% of the time. But just to mix it up and give the body a little different information, bring more balance, lean back and uncross the legs and cross them the other way. If that's new for you, it will feel a little different, right? And it's okay, because over time, as you do that, it doesn't feel so different. That's the interesting thing. Okay. And then just lift the fleshy part of the buttocks back a little bit. Settle down into your seat. Get grounded. Bring a hand to the crown and gently lengthen up. And take an inhale, lift your shoulders and roll them back. Do that again. And before you close your eyes, just take a moment, because this is life, and gaze around. And just see what you see. Let your eyes take in the world with a soft gaze. And then if you would allow the eyes to close softly and take in the world through the sense of hearing. And just notice the sounds that come and go. And you might even hear the sound of your own breath. And so now let that breath support you in taking inventory of where this body, mind, and heart are right now. And as you feel the breath breathing in the body, feel the body. The places as you scan awareness around that might feel open, spacious, relaxed. Or maybe some places that feel contracted or tense. Let it be an interesting investigation. Great. And then notice that quality of breath. Sometimes it's long and sometimes it's short. And the breath is connected to the energy. So notice what your energy feels like this morning. The prana, the life force. And by, it's not unusual to notice the quality of the mind, the thoughts that come and the thoughts that go. Remember, all of these are ever changing. And connected to that mental state is the emotional terrain. But as you are aware of any emotion, remember it's emotion, feel where you feel that in the body. Take a breath there and relax what you can. And then recognize the place that is aware of all of these states that come and go, that really are ephemeral, nothing to hold on to, all these states in the mind and the heart. And then if you would please join our refuge, a way of taking refuge into that already awakened heart, the inner sanctuary. So if you'd like, you can say these, repeat them to yourself. So from now until I fully awaken, I vow to take refuge in loving awareness, my true home. Touch into that place of home for a moment. Infinite, whole, at peace. And then remind ourselves that I vow to take refuge in the path of loving awareness, the road that leads me home. And these are the beautiful practices and teachings, the path. We walk the path. And I vow to take refuge in the Sangha, my teachers, my friends, spiritual family, those who aspire to live awake and free. And for a few moments, call them into your heart. I just remind myself that I know this to be of immeasurable value, and that it is possible in each moment, regardless of conditions. And so for a few minutes, let's sit and begin by coming again in touch with the breath. And for just a few breaths, take a long breath in. And as you exhale, slowly exhale the breath all the way out. As you squeeze it out, which makes more space for the next inhale. As you inhale, all the way to the top as best you can without struggle. And you release as you're ready. And this next time, as you come to the top of your breath, pause there for a moment. Sip in a little more breath. And sustain it for a moment. Let the capacity inside you build. And then slowly, slowly exhale the breath. Allow your breath to return to a natural rhythm. Allow yourself to be breathed. The natural way the breath comes and goes and calls you home. And invite awareness to rest with the breath. You can hold breath, or perhaps in the abdomen as it rises and falls, or in the chest as it expands and contracts, or right at the tip of the nostrils as you breathe in and out. Let that be a place to take refuge for these few minutes, and also a place to see clearly when the mind wanders, something calls your attention. And without struggle, the gift of seeing clearly, oh, what is happening? With kindness, call yourself back home. it doesn't matter how many times you have to call awareness back. To simply rest here. In these final few moments, if you would to feel into your heart and begin to think about or bring into your heart all those beings, all those people that have loved you into being. All those who have loved you into being. And as they're an image of them or feeling or their name arises, it's a simple way of really gratitude. Thank you. And then wish them well, a blessing for them. May you be at peace with what comes your way. And one by one, as they come, welcome them and thank them and bless them. And I know we can go on and on with that practice because there are so many really in the small and big ways that have loved us. No matter our life circumstances, love is always here. And so, if you'd like, let's bring our hearts and our voices together from wherever we are with the sound of Om. So please take in a nice breath. Om. Om. Hari Om Shanti. Jai Bhagwan, everyone. And just take a moment and let your body shift a little bit on its own. And we'll move into our first yin pose, which I love to do just about every day after I sit because it helps to release the spine. And you'll find, I believe, that these yin poses will be really, it's a contemplative practice. So while it's energy enhancing in that we're putting our body in a particular way and we're addressing all of the energetic channels and we are working with the breath and pranayams that I'll guide you in, it's also very contemplative because we stop and we're here for 3 to 5 minutes, just like would be in sitting meditation or walking meditation. Okay? So our first pose is the butterfly pose. So if you would sit on the edge of either your cushion or a little blanket so that your pelvis can tip a little bit. And then slide your feet away so it's like a wide diamond, right? Like a little right angle happening here. And then there's a little tip. You might like to have a block or blanket near you. And once you have that tip and just the tiniest lengthening here to protect the lower back, you gently let the spine round. And in this way, you just let it go where it goes. We're not over lengthening because then you're engaging muscles. So here, as you round, come to your first edge. Any more, too much. Any less, not enough. We're not over yet. We're just beginning. And as you meet that first edge, relax what you can. And so that's the first tenet or the first guideline, is to meet the appropriate pressure. I like to say any more too much, any less not enough. And of course this always changes. And then we invite the muscles to be passive. Now passive does not mean you don't feel the muscles. You do feel the muscles, but we're not engaging the muscles. But it happens quite habitually. So scan around in your body. And when you meet up with a tension or an engagement, relax what you can. The muscles of the face or the shoulders, wherever you feel it, even the feet, and let the feet relax. We can do that all day. Scan around and see where we're holding on unnecessarily. Really an add-on. It's an add-on, really. We don't need that particular tension that's happening. So relax what you can. And we stay a while, 3 to 5 minutes, because we are addressing the deep connective tissues that are like steel and they need, or I like to think of them as taffy, just that slow, steady, tensile stretch, which creates more freedom in our body, and it touches into the deep energetic channels that have connection to our body and our mind and our emotions. We are not separate, right? We are all interconnected, even connected to the planet and the seasons, right? The elements. And then, of course, there's the steady companion of the breath. So allow the breath to grow long and silky smooth. And if you're familiar with Ujjayi breath, that's a little contraction in the back of the throat. It'll allow you to slow the breath down. You'll hear a little sound with that breath. It's also your can rest awareness with that lovely sound that comes in and out. So we scan around and relax what we can. We allow the breath to be an anchor. And when you find that breath, you can begin to find the rhythm of the breath. And by that I mean find the count. And I like to count 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 3 ohm. See where the inhale goes. And then you let the exhale match it, or maybe even a count longer. Typically it's somewhere between 4 and 6, but everyone is an individual, so meet yourself where you are. So let's be in quiet for the last half minute or so, calling upon your practices here. take another breath or two and see if the body just wants to ease in a little bit more. To release, bring your hands to the earth and gently let the spine rise back up. Bring your hands behind you, lean into them and stretch out the legs. Just let the legs fall where they fall. You can even sink into the shoulders. And take a moment there. Two things are happening. You might feel a little sensation or place that the body feels taxed, and you take attention and breath there. But you might also notice there's a flood of energy happening. So let your attention go there. And let it flood your system, your whole being, body, mind, and heart. And then please bring yourself back up to sitting. Release what you're sitting on and come onto your back. Have a blanket perhaps near you. So come onto your back with your feet standing. To begin, take your hands behind the back of your head. Lift your head an inch or so and release it. Also, have a block actually near your feet. You might like to use that, okay? If you have that, or a cushion, but a block is great. So the neck is long. The shoulders, take your elbows into the ground and press and roll the shoulders down. Let them shoulder blades spread. And down in the pelvis, just rock a little bit so you lengthen the pelvis and rock it in and out. And then just find the place of center. And take a moment to feel the neutrality of the spine. And this pose is called thread the needle. So your right knee and draw it in, and then turn it out so that your right outside of your right ankle is resting on the top of your left thigh. And for some of us, this might be enough. But if you want more, you take your left foot off the ground, and you have options here. You can hold behind the back of the thigh. And for some of us, we can hold around the shin. But you want to be mindful not to be arcing the neck. If you are, you've got to. And the option is to take that block under your foot, under that left foot. So you don't use the hands at all. Your hands can rest on your belly then, or overhead, or out to the side. So let the sacrum be your ground here. That's some information as to whether you've gone too far. And if the body wants more, you ease it in a little more. Edge, right? So the instructions are the same. Come to the sensation.
We're having some problems. Frozen a little bit.
I'm sorry if you're freezing. I can't help that, so do the best you can.
Sound.
I'll keep speaking louder. And, yeah. Great. So find the first edge of sensation.
Bad weather. Tell everyone.
We are dealing with outer storms here where we are, and that often affects the internet. So bear with us. And if it doesn't come back, try the video later. Hopefully it'll be better. But in the meantime, those of you who are still in the pose, just be in the pose. Hopefully we'll come back together. And breathe into whatever tension, the tension in the mind that happens from things that happen that are beyond our control, or the tension in your body. Let your breath support just as you did. Scan around and be shown. Where can I relax a little bit? Come back to that breath and the rhythm of the breath. And now if you were to bring and your breath right to the soft belly and navel. And we'll visualize with the breath to open up all of the channels, particularly the chakra, as you know, many of you know, the energetic channels, but those spiraling energies that flow along the central channel. So to help open that, begin with your awareness right below the navel with the breath. As you inhale, visualize the breath sweeping down under the root, up along the back of your spine, over the crown, right to the third eye, the center of the forehead, and pause there 2 counts. 1 ohm, 2 ohm. As you exhale, visualize the breath and energy flowing down along the front of the spine until you come once again right down into the second center or below the navel. And pause there 2 counts. You might go along with my voice, or you find your own breathing pattern. But the instruction is breathe down under the root, up along the back of the spine, over the crown to the third eye, and you pause there. And as you exhale, visualize breath and energy down along the front of the spine, right below the navel. Pause there. So continue in that way, enhancing, awakening the that we are, and focusing the mind as well. In these last few moments, allow the doing of breath to fall away. And allow yourself to breathe and feel it in these last few moments. And release by releasing your hand or the block, and bring your left foot to the earth. Bring your right foot to the earth. Moments. And feel the effect. And again, if there's any place the body feels taxed, take your breath and energy there. Relax what you can. Allow the energy to now flood the system. You know, now you've been holding, and so you feel that, but then it naturally releases. Let's do the other side. So your right foot is standing, and you take your left knee in and cross that left ankle to the top of your right thigh, right below the knee. Not really the top, it's really the bottom, but just whatever position you're in here, right there. And then take your right foot off the floor. Come to that first edge and you make your choice. If your foot's on the block or if your foot is even still on the floor, that's acceptable. Or holding behind the leg or the shin. And you might be noticing that as you stay, either the sensations grow stronger because maybe you've gone a little far, or they begin to soften and then you find a new edge. So watch, our habits show up. If we are the ones that always want a little more, right, we push. And maybe when you stay a while, it can become quite intense, so then you back off. It is not all or nothing. Life is not all or nothing, and neither is this practice. So find the place that feels appropriate now and now. And because all of these conditions are changing, so will the sensations change. And as you're there with the breath and sensation and just simply being present right here, right now, that's all that's happening. Even if the internet's not perfect, life's not perfect. It's imperfectly perfect because it gives us everything to manage in the best way we can. So every morning I do take refuge, even if it's right before I get out of my bed or before I sit in my practice. But I also like to remind myself of these 4 contemplations. So I'll share them with you as you're there in the pose, which allows you to take in the Dharma, the teachings. It comes from the Tibetan tradition, and it's from the Lojong sayings. So the little pithy sayings, and the saying is actually first train in the preliminaries. And it's described, the basic preliminary is the meditation practice. And it's not that you do this and graduate to something more advanced. It actually is the essence of all other practices. Pema Chodron says without it, we would not be able to have any insight into our mind. Without it, without stopping, we would not have in mind both our craziness and our wisdom. And so this practice too is a contemplative practice. And the 4 thoughts that go with this, we are asked to reflect upon these 4 thoughts or contemplations. Now you can listen to them or recite them back out. But each day, maintain an awareness of the preciousness of this human life. And I think really feeling the preciousness of this human life. It is also said that in a human life we can receive these teachings. We have these choices. And second is be aware of the reality that life ends. Death comes for everyone. It is the law of impermanence. Be aware of the reality that life ends. So it reminds me of the preciousness of this human life. It also reminds me in the midst of any upset, to put it all in perspective that this life is precious, it will end, and we never know what will happen. So don't miss the moment. And the law of impermanence is not just this big life, but all the little conditions, all that's happening in the body and the mind and the heart, all of the situations, everything will come and go. It's a universal law, the law of impermanence. So take these last 20 seconds or so to be with those phrases and the meaning of them for yourself. And then gently release by releasing your hand off your leg or your foot off the block. Bring your foot to the floor and release the other. And pause for a few moments. One hand on the belly and one on the heart. And what's happening right now? And then stretch the legs out with the feet standing. I'm sorry, stretch the legs out. Stretch your right leg out. I'm sorry. Keep your left foot standing. And extend your arms in a T position. We'll come into an easy twist. Step into your left foot, lift your hips and shift them over to the left. You'll be more on your right buttocks or hip. Then take your left foot to stand on your right thigh. Take a breath and roll over onto your right hip. Take your on the right. It doesn't have to go very far. Now your left shoulder is your ground. So if you're rolling off, bring that to the earth, extend that left arm. You might lift and shift that right hip back a little bit or the shoulders to the right. And your right hand can rest on the outside of your left leg. And you just find that place. Now for some of you, you might like to bend both knees and bring them in. Maybe a blanket under or between. Or just the traditional twist in that way. So find your appropriate place there. And you know, that's a moment we get to observe if we thought, oh, I used to go into that one further. Or, you know, wow, this body feels so tight today. Or, wow, look at me, I'm going so far. We get to watch all of that. And then let your body and all the sensations and your breath bring you right here. Scan around in this first minute and relax what you can. Notice any of the unnecessary places of holding. We've heard the first two contemplations. The third contemplation is to recall that whatever I do, whether virtuous or not, has a result. Whatever I do, whether virtuous or not, has a result. And this is the law of karma. Now, we don't always know the end result of our words or our actions. But when I hear that, it asks me to really pay attention and be as impeccable as I can with what I say and what I do. And I am not perfect. I blow it. And I am human like everyone else. But everything we do and say and think has a result, both in our inner and outer life. So it's worthwhile to think it over. Sylvia Borstein has a wonderful thing. She goes, TIO, think it over before I speak or before I act. When I do that, it is usually more wise. And take a few more breaths here. And in these final breaths, see if your body just wants to go in a little bit further. The body may have opened. There may be a little more space. So find that new edge and take a few breaths with that and relax. And then to release your right hand. Bring your left knee up to the center. Roll back to center. Press into your foot and shift your hips back to the center. Pause there and feel. Feel the result of your action. And when we're willing to feel into the result of our action, it also is feedback as to whether this was a wise and skillful action. So now to go to the other side, extend your right leg and step into the left foot and shift your hips over to the right. Now you'll be more on your left hip. Take your right foot and let it stand on your right foot stand on your left thigh. Extend the arms, take a breath and roll over onto your left hip. Make any of those little adjustments you might need. And now your right shoulder blade is your ground. Your left hand rests on the outside of the right leg. And your head can either look straight ahead to the ceiling, it can turn to the right for a full twist, or even to the left. All things are possible. So find what's appropriate for you now. Scan around and relax what you can. See that the muscles are passive. Let your breath be your ally. And I share with you the fourth contemplation. It reminds us that suffering ensues when I do not recognize my boundless nature. And as long as I am too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking how I am good or bad. So think about that for a moment. When I forget my boundless nature, that I am connected to everyone and everything, when I am caught up in the me, the mind, the I. It continues by saying, obsessing about getting what I want and avoiding what I don't want does not result in happiness. So the continual grasping or pushing away, it might give us a moment of happiness, but it does not result in long-term happiness. But remembering my boundless nature, that calls me home. So right here, right now, as you're here and the breath is breathing you, life is happening, can you touch into that place that is boundless, right at the center? Take another few breaths here and see if your body wants to move in any further. And then gently release and roll back to the center. Shift your hips back to the center. Either bring your feet to standing or extend your legs and pause there and feel the effect of where you've been, right? And before we take rest, if you would please simply draw your knees in towards your chest and open the knees wide. And now slide your hands along the inside of your legs onto your shins or your ankles. Keep the sacrum on the ground. And you can stay here, or if you like, you can begin to lift your feet towards the sky and take hold on the ankles or the big toe or the feet. Keep your sacrum down. And for some of us, the feet will stay towards each other, or some of us can widen them till the shins are perpendicular to the floor. And you just keep the sacrum grounded and the back of the neck long. And then when you're there in that neutral spine, you know you can go further or stay right there. And again, come into that long Ujjayi breath. And as you inhale, visualize the breath and energy flowing down from the crown, right down through the center to the roots. And as you exhale, let that energy and breath and light flow up through the center, right out through the crown. So take a few breaths in that way. Doing this pose at the end helps to balance the spine and balance the system. Just another few breaths. And then to release, release the feet. Draw the knees in towards your chest and give yourself a nice hug. Really appreciating yourself this morning and staying with this practice and staying with yourself and meeting each moment just as it is. As we said, the only place that life is happening is right here and now. And we are cultivating these ways, these skillful ways. We're building our inner resources so we can meet a life with all the joys and sorrows that it brings us. So now if you would stretch the body out and do what you need to take rest. You might like to have, if you have something under your legs for either a bolster or a blanket under the thighs, a thin blanket under the neck or a roll under the neck, or something to cover your eyes and maybe to cover your body so you're warm. And once you've settled down onto the earth, the legs can part and the arms can rest by your side, palms up or down, or even letting a hand rest on the soft belly. And then just take 3 to 5 long letting go breaths. So a big breath in, and as you exhale with the mouth open, just gently letting go. And with each exhale, invite the body to settle onto the earth. All tensions release. Held here by Mother Earth. And if there's anything, any tension you're not needing, just gently give it back to the Mother. She gladly takes and recycles any tensions we have. She does not discriminate. The face relaxes and expression falls away. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivaranam urvarukamiva bandhanam mrityor mukshiyamamritat swaha. as you hear the sound of the bell and my voice, invite awareness back to the room and feel the earth or whatever is beneath you. Take a deep breath and feel. Just feel this moment just as it is in this body. Begin to let this precious body stretch a little bit, so organically to return back. Until you draw your knees into your chest and roll over to one side and rest for a moment on your side in the fetal pose. And appreciate yourself, appreciate the blessings of this time that you gave yourself and this practice and the unique gift that you are. There is not another like you, and not another blessed being like you. And then please bring your hands to the earth and press yourself up to sitting. Come back to sit on your chair, or your cushion, or your blanket. Once again, get grounded and gently lengthen. And with the eyes closed, feel where you are now. All of our actions have a result. So feel right now into the result of your action, the action of presence and practice, patience and perseverance. And in this, you feel what you have received today. You can let the words behind the feeling tone bubble up inside you. What are the gifts that you have received today that you will take back into your life? And then as that comes up, silently say it to yourself. The blessings and the gifts that you have received. And then please let us continue to cultivate and take a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for all that we have received, to all of the teachings and our teachers, and to all that have helped us on the path. Now may we now dedicate the merit of our practice and all of our virtuous actions, really for the benefit and awakening of all beings everywhere, all beings without one exception. And so we wish all beings, as we begin, all the beings that loved us into who we are, and all the beings everywhere, near and far, two-legged and four-legged, the easy and the challenging, all beings everywhere, may all beings know happiness in the root of happiness. May all beings be free of all suffering and the root of suffering. May all beings remember that we are in this precious life together and that we hold each other up from near and far. May this blessing reach out to touch everyone, everywhere, without one exception. And if you'd like to join me I'll close with our dedicating chant, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. We'll chant Om once and the mantra 3 times and end with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So take a breath in. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And as you bring your hands in prayer, we're wishing, may all beings everywhere know peace and joy and love and light. And Jai Bhagwan, I bow to the light that you are. Namaste to yourself and each other. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a blessed day. Jai Bhagwan.